Tony, maybe you'd like to say something about that since you're singing the score. I mean, as an American, does it seem to you to resonate with some kind of deep sense of identity that you have musically?
Yes, very much so. I mean, as an American, the American dream is, to have your house and something of your own. And that, as Andrea was saying, this work speaks very deeply to me because it deals with the simplicity of what we all want and need, and that's just simple love. Something Lenny says, I just want something to call my own and to love. And so I have, I first sang this role in 1997 and was not sure I would get the part to begin with. I went into the audition for the Glimmerglass Opera, which is a little jewel of an opera house in upstate New York, in Cooperstown. And I went into the audition in New York City, and the day before I found out, and I said, I promise you, if you give me this role, I'll do my very best. And so it was, a dream come true because it was, I'm basically a really shy, introverted person, believe it or not. But Lenny and these outside characters that I've had the pleasure of playing, I'm not sure if it's a pleasure, but it's something that needs to be done. And I've done a lot of work with homeless and special needs kids and adults. And so I wanted to give a voice to the voiceless, so to speak.
And do you see, I mean, your other great role for which you're so famous is, of course, Peter Grimes. Do you see any link between Peter Grimes and this role? In
Yes.
terms of these outsiders, these people who are sort of, yes, they're alienated, really, aren't they?
Well, they're alienated and they're very misunderstood. And as part of who I don't often refer to myself as an opera singer. I think to the general public that, gives you the idea that someone's a prima donna, a divo, difficult to work with. For me, singing and acting gave me an outlet. Growing up very shy, and as Carlisle said earlier, I grew up in the church, had actually thought that I would become a minister. And so, his Susanna that we were talking about earlier, for my Metropolitan Opera audition as a young artist, I sang an aria, It Must Make the Good Lord Sad, from Susanna. And to this day, I know that in my heart of hearts, that's what got me into the Met Young Artist program. Because I was singing about something that was very close to my heart and that I knew. And I went on to sing Sam and Susanna at the Metropolitan Opera and Chicago Lyric Opera and Vancouver Opera and other places. So it was, I grew up very working class family. My parents didn't own a home. We rented until I started singing Of Mice and Men. And so I called my mother's house. The first thing I did was I bought my mother a little townhouse. And I call it the house that Lenny built, because I really believe that. And the being here. I mean, when I was a university student in North Carolina, a little small school, I had a poster up in my dorm room of the Sydney Opera House. So it was my dream to debut here, and then to sing Carlisle Floyd's music, and then to work with Bruce Beresford is a bit overwhelming. I mean, coming to rehearsal every day, and then, working with Andrea, I was, from the very get-go, I was extremely impressed with how well he knew the score and what a passion he has for, contemporary and American opera. And so that was, I would come to work and just sometimes get completely overwhelmed. And Lenny's a very challenging role. If you only had to act it, it would be exhausting. But then you put the music on top of that. It's overwhelming at that.
It's very intense.
Yeah.
You've sung in so many productions of this opera. And I'm just wondering, can you tell us a little bit about the different ways that the opera's been staged and interpreted? Because I know that in the first week of rehearsals, there was quite a lot of conversation between you and Bruce about, did you do this in Houston? No, we didn't do that in Houston. And one of the things that Bruce was absolutely adamant about, for example, is that in Act 1, we don't hear police sirens. So when the men are on the run, you, Bruce, were very clear that you didn't want us to have that sound and that sense of the police being out there. So can you tell us about some of the other productions that you've been in and how different they've been?
Well, when I come to a new production, I come with a very open mind. I mean, there was, in the beginning, as you said, a lot of reference to the Houston production and the recording, which was a live recording. It was not a studio recording. So I think it's very important as an artist to always keep an open mind. I think that that's always my goal, and not say, well, when I sang it in such and such production, that, this is the way I do it, and it has to be done this way. Andrea was great by pointing out some things that I was not doing right, and Bruce, and you need that, and Bruce was, very open and in helping me, to continue to develop the character, because I never, feel like I'm a finished product. I think when I don't consider myself the definitive anything. As an artist, I think there's, open discussion and different interpretations, and there are other singers singing the role of Lenny now, which I'm very happy and thrilled about. And I've gotten some phone calls from younger singers who said, now what do I need to do here? And I said, the most important thing you need to do is go out and do some volunteer work, go observe some special needs adults, kids, because that's it was important for me not to become a caricature of someone that we think has special needs, because I didn't want it, I wanted it to be as realistic as possible. And Bruce and I had discussions in the rehearsal process about that.
I wanted to ask Anthony a question, and I've seen you in Peter Grimes, and I can imagine, which I will be seeing you shortly in this opera. Does it get to be kind of sad singing because you're famous for these roles, singing these really enormously sad roles very often? I mean, other opera singers get the chance to do a bit of comedy, or they're not entirely about, in both these cases, men whose whole life is a tragedy, even before it goes wrong in the opera. Both Lenny and Peter Grimes are this sort of very sad person. Is it sad doing that? Do you kind of debrief yourself at the end, or?
I do try to debrief myself at the end, but
Yeah.
I think my feelings are that you're born and have a mission in life. The roles I sing are quite lonely roles, and what Carlisle said earlier, and there is loneliness associated with doing these roles. And there's also typecasting that's done, especially, I'm a man of stature, as if you didn't know that or not. I try to take care of myself emotionally and physically, and sometimes I go home and just watch cartoons or watch, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or something to kind of, to unwind. But yes, but it is difficult, but it's part of, I feel, is my mission on this earth, and it's to put a voice to the voiceless. I mean, there was one day I was coming to work here, and I saw a homeless man with no shoes, and I've done a lot of work with homeless people, and have done work with mental health patients. My father, who recently passed away, suffered from schizophrenia. So I know these characters. I know the isolation. I also know what it's like, to be a son, a brother, to people that that suffer from these illnesses, and it takes a lot out of you. But I'm a man of great strength, and I take things in stride. And it is hurtful, when people can't look beyond my size sometimes, or other, but it's the way society views us sometimes. So it's a blessing in many ways that I get to perform these roles and hopefully give them a real life interpretation.